Part 20. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lau Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 191. The attributes of the final boss of the Stronghold 3, the Fallen Lord Ansiodar, are as follows. Hero level, 1.42 million health, 150,000 magic, 38,000 attack, 7,000 defense. Obviously, this is a team boss that needs the cooperation of the army, because even Shen Xian, who has the highest defense and health, can only withstand 3 attacks from Ansiodar at most. He can dodge, but it does not mean that there are other opportunities. The Fallen Lord is a half melee and half spell profession, and he will only be more perverted when he releases spells. The attributes of the Big Devil are 180,000 health, 40,000 magic, 6,000 attack, and 900 defense. The ending is certain, that is, Ansiodar died, but how much benefit they can get and what items they can get are the most critical. The condition that they will leave the battlefield if they die in the chess game makes them adopt a conservative tactic. The building of the competition hall can be divided into 2 floors, so the required position is also very particular. All ranged professions, including treatment and spell professions, stand on the 2nd floor, which can minimize casualties. As for melee, they are temporarily on the periphery. At this time, they compete with a group of 10-meter-tall big devils for the qualification of close combat. Even ogres will be accidentally stepped on by the big devil's feet. The battle began. The big devil's damage to Ansiodar was 2,100, and Ansiodar's damage to the big devil was 23,000. This was a tragic battle. As long as the big devil could obtain the power of Ansiodar, their level could soar by 10 levels, which was what they dreamed of. Different sides of the abyss in hell can fight everywhere. Most of the wars are carried out under the rules, and it is difficult to rise to the top. Often the power drawn from a war needs to be contributed to the lords who believe in it, which makes it difficult for them to grow by leaps and bounds. The player's attack output can never be compared with the big devil, which makes the ranged profession very leisurely and the melee profession extremely jealous. However, facing the tide of demons, Ansiodar immediately chanted something, and his 6 arms drew 6 strange symbols in the air. As a hero of the Judgment Demon, his arms can release 6 spells at the same time, and the damage in a short moment is extremely amazing. Horror Scream causes all units within a range of 500 meters to intermittently experience the negative state of fear, which lasts for 30 seconds. Endless Swamp causes the land within a range of 100 meters to become a sunken land, which can devour all creatures with souls, causing the negative states of slowing down, mute, and blindness, causing 275 points of damage per second, which lasts for 120 seconds. Soul Judgment. Units within a range of 50 meters will suffer a maximum of 85,000 damage, which will gradually decay according to the distance, and gain negative effects. The player's mental state will be checked every 3 seconds. Once fatigued, the player will be forced to die. Summon the Hell Two-Headed Dragon Snake. Pleasure Garden. When Ansiodar's spells were released synchronously, the ground beneath his feet instantly turned into a war motion. The body of the big devil slowly sank, and the surrounding columns and high walls were immediately submerged. The big devil could still fly up with his wings, but there was no way for the ogre. Magic Shield. Several mages quickly cast simple magic on themselves. Their magic points were rapidly consumed, but no one knew what the result would be if they sank. They would rather consume it like this. Fortunately, part of the high wall did not sink. The players relied on this section of the high wall to persist. After a while, Ansiodar killed several big devils. HP 1.26 million. When the Endless Swamp retreated, a pit several tens of meters deep was left under his feet, connecting to the underground lava undercurrent, and the battlefield environment became worse and worse. However, the players who attacked Ansiodar in advance achieved a lot of achievements. Most of them knocked down 0.5% of Ansiudar's HP. Don't underestimate this number. When Ansiudar died, this 0.5% could at least be exchanged for 80,000 experience. The big devils have high spell resistance, and more than half of the hundreds of big devils are immune to all spells. During this period, Ansiudar was in a weak state. In the next few minutes, the health of the fallen lord suddenly dropped by hundreds of thousands. There are many advantages to being a lord. He has unlimited magic scrolls to squander. Even if he cannot get close as a melee unit, he can rely on scrolls to make up for it. In the few minutes when the big devils besieged the fallen lord, Shen Xian used magic scrolls to cause damage to Ansiudar, which made Odin, who had no money to squander, very angry and regretted becoming an adventurer. When Ansiudar's health dropped below half, the players had a general understanding of his attacks and boldly approached him, wanting to get a share of the spoils. So the players gradually replaced the big devils and became the main force to hurt him. The advantage of the players is that they are small in size. Even ogres have a high chance of dodge under Ansiudar's attack. The only thing to be careful about is the big devil's feet. If you accidentally touch them, you will suffer 1200 damage. Which player who came here didn't have a killer weapon? They prepared several level 6 and 7 scrolls, and even a level 8 scroll worth hundreds of thousands of gold. With the big devil's passive resistance, the player's attack output gradually surpassed the big devil. This is a conspiracy. Few people notice the evil smiles on the big devil's mouths. Dissociation and pain spells were chanted but not used. When the players found out, it was too late. Ansiudar pointed the butcher knife at the players. With a hissing sound, several beams of shadow flames killed 4 or 5 players and NPCs in front in a short time, and radiated in all directions. Shen Xian blocked an ogre from behind, and was hit by shadow flame inadvertently because he could not retreat, causing 18,000 damage. However, he hurried to the safe zone outside the competition hall to recover. Through a rough scan, shadow flame hit 11 players, killing 9 people, and only he and Odin survived. The authorities are confused, but the bystanders are clear. He was still frightened while recovering and observing the battlefield, and then he found out that the reason why Ansiudar attacked the players was actually those big devils. It is indeed a sinister race. Shen Xian sneered, and had to admire the wisdom of the devil. Even he would fall. After drinking a bottle of powerful healing potion, his health value recovered to 3,100, a black light rose from his back, and a blood supplement number of 2,700 jumped out. "Thank you, I'll treat you to dinner another day. You owe me twice." He realized that the one who treated him was not his exclusive treatment but Yan Yao. At this time, Ansiudar's attack became more and more fierce. Thinking of repaying you in the future, he pondered and looked for ways to get the greatest benefit. The big devil could not bear the temptation of the soul and attacked Ansiudar again, whose health was less than 40%. After a while, his health dropped below 10%. This is a critical stage. It is not about how to kill Ansiudar, but how to grab the items dropped by Ansiudar. The most important step is to get close. The big devils are all fighting for the ownership of power, and the demand for items is less. Therefore, the items must belong to players and NPCs, not these huge big devils. You need enough health to get close. Attacks can be dodged, but spells are difficult. He had no idea in his mind for a while, just following Odin and the New York soldiers. "Lord, you can't use us as cannon fodder. If an explosive spell is released, we will be the first to suffer, and you will be spared." Both of them strongly opposed it. Explosive spells refer to spells that spread out from a point. The closer the unit is to the origin, the greater the damage it will suffer, and the farther it is, the less damage it will suffer. Many strange ideas always suddenly appeared in Shen Xian's mind. The words of the two people suddenly made him think of an idea. "If I can't hide behind you, Can't I hide behind the big devil? The tall and big devil is the ultimate target that can withstand damage. Shadow Flame. Shen Xian quietly followed the big devil's heels and was safe and sound. Getting closer and closer to Ansiodar. The health of the Lord of the Fallen is less than 5%. An evil thing happened. All the big devils came to finish off the fallen Lord at this time. Hundreds of beams of light and ripples bombarded the body of the Lord of the Fallen, which surprised many players who had not yet experienced the high AI characteristics of the big devil. If the last knife was finished by the NPC, where would the world masters put their faces? 7,400, 5,200, 4,700, the numbers bombarded the fallen lord's body, but fortunately, the last blow was made by Odin, and there was no coordinated killing. Because he knew that the big devil would use such insidious means, he took the initiative to use a level 9 scroll that he had accumulated for 2 months. 12,000 damage. In an instant, 5 million experience points were injected into his body, and his level was raised by 2 levels. He wanted to go further and was about to pick up equipment, but several figures had surpassed his small steps and appeared beside Ansiodar. Nearly 10 items rolled out in a circle around his body, accompanied by the prompt mission base 3 completed, reward experience 1.5 million, reputation 200, contribution 8,000, Shen Xian snickered and stuffed 4 items into his arms. Online game DungeonMaster. Author, Buletin Lao Buletin Si Buletin Me. Chapter 192. Special treatment for special situations. In a mission involving a large number of NPCs, the distribution of items after the death of the boss has always been an unsolved problem, so at this time, there is no right or wrong, just look at who can grab it. Dark Dragon City. In a luxurious noble room, Shen Xian read the mission description of the 4th base, assist in killing the Sin Lord Syndra, the torturer Saito, and the tyrant Moisen, and reward 1.8 million experience, 300 reputation, and 6,000 contribution. The 3 NPCs in the description refer to the 3 bosses in the elephant. The advantage is that as long as you kill one, you can get 33.3% of the reward, and if you complete all, it will be 100%, so you don't have to worry too much about losses. Compared with Ansiodar, these 3 are also level 120, but they are only semi-elite and semi-heroic, and their health will not exceed 1 million. However, there are still some optional tasks in the 4th base that can be completed, which is more interesting to Shen Xian. Stronghold 4, Supplement, destroy the 20 blood-red spires on the elephant chess piece, prevent the elephant chess piece from restoring the surrounding chess pieces, and reward 12 million experience and 800 reputation. The rewards are the same as the number of completed tasks. Compared with the pure boss killing type tasks, the content is closer to the engineer, and the buildings need to be demolished. The reward for this task is very confusing. The trap is that it is impossible for the player to demolish all 20 blood-red spires when there are chess pieces on all sides. However, the task of killing 3 bosses is also challenging, and he can only choose one of the 2. He prefers the destruction task that can earn more benefits, so that even if he grabs half of the quota, he can directly upgrade to the asterisk level. After reading, he carefully opened the package, which contained the 4 items he had robbed from Ansiodar. Blood Gem, Rare, embedded in equipment or items, Health Enhancement 5%, 3% melee damage converted to health. Death Armor, Rare, Defense 285, Strength 240, Agility 240, Constitution 400, Condition Level 59, reduce the hit rate of enemies attacking you by 5, Dodge 5, Magic Resistance and Divine Resistance by 3%, Talent of the Fallen. Ursuline's Manuscript, Blueprint, Epic, Unidentified. Shaftlock, Sunset Spear, Epic, Unidentified. Blood Gem is embedded in equipment above excellent level, but the properties of Blood Gem are not very suitable for him. It is good to increase the upper limit of health by 5%, but 3% of blood sucking is meaningless for him with low attack power. The fallen armor is directly replaced by the ritual armor. The talent of the fallen is simply to say that it has all the talent attributes of the fallen demon, including reducing the attributes of the surrounding units and reducing the flexibility of the character by 5%. There are 2 unidentified items of epic level. It is not surprising to get them from the level 120 boss. Because the New York soldier also got an epic magic pendant, and the others also got 2 epic items. It seems that I need to identify it, he thought to himself. At this time the door rang softly. Shen Xian, are you there? It turned out that Yan Yao came. Putting away the things, he got up and opened the door. The upgrade speed of hell is indeed extraordinary. Yan Yao is now level 69, 2 levels higher than when she first arrived in hell. The experience calculation system of the healing profession has another set of formulas. Therefore, the healing profession is not upgraded slowly because it is difficult to kill enemies. On the contrary, it has many special advantages. For example, there are many tasks that need to be completed by the healing profession. The experience of the task is 5% higher than the reward of the same level task, but it is a special treatment for the healing profession. The only disadvantage is that the healing profession, except for a few units that are mostly wearing heavy armor, the rest are ranged, and they are obviously at a disadvantage in snatching equipment. Complaining is not a solution. Learning from each other's strengths and weaknesses is what a profession needs to do. In this mission of the third base, although Yan Yao did not get any items from Ansiodar, she picked up a lot of good things from the big devil. How was the rest? Almost. Let's go out to identify the items, Shen Xian said. Identification? Aren't you afraid of encountering scammers? Dark Dragon City is not the underground world, it's a bit unsafe. After Yan Yao said this, Shen Xian replied helplessly, that's true, I was anxious. Yan Yao smiled, sat down and stretched out her hand. How about showing it to me? After all, I have the skill levels of level 9 history, level 7 religion, and level 6 hell studies. Maybe I can identify it? Hearing this, Shen Xian hesitated and agreed, taking out Wuzelin's manuscript and Shaflock, the gun of the sunset, from the package and handed them to Yan Yao. There is no special identification skill in the kingdom. Whether all the attributes of the item can be checked and opened depends on the level of the player's various auxiliary skills. Although Shen Xian has a library here, it cannot be compared with Yan Yao's authority to freely access information from Taranj, so the level of auxiliary skills will be much lower. Turning over the yellow pages, the handwriting soaked in magic ink slowly appeared inside. The sentences were written in the common language, but the content was related to dark faction magic. After 15 minutes, Yan Yao handed Wuzelin's manuscript to Shen Xian intact. This time, the attributes of the item were opened. Wuzelin's manuscript, epic, mysterious notes left behind by the legendary archmage Wuzelin when he lived in the Abyss, tells a lot about dark faction magic and the knowledge of the Abyss, improves the reader's abyssal skill level up to 5 levels, and opens a turn professional conjurer, shadow speaker, dark wizard, second turn professional magician, destroyer, third turn professional grand wizard's job transfer permissions, and permission to open the Black Sun Tower, devil statue, devil's gate. And abyss rift building permissions, enable technical permissions for junior wizards, intermediate wizards, senior wizards, dark control, and enslavement. It is simply a complete collection of wizards. This item is too important for the development of the territory. The most important thing is that this item no longer needs to complete special tasks, which can save a lot of time. Although it is not difficult to obtain permission, and you can even own part of the territory, the value of the items cannot be ignored. I don't know if Yan Yao was favored by the goddess of luck or something, but the second Safrock, the Sunset Spear, was also identified. Charlock, the Sunset Spear, epic, the Lord of the Shadow Dragon, Earl Sharuk, was forged with the soul fire of the Hell Forge and the souls of dozens of metal dragons. It has an attack power of 590, an attack enhancement of 35%, and a strength of 900, constitution 1500, attributes strengthened by 11%, damage against demons strengthened by 15%, damage against large units strengthened by 10%, talent Dragon Slayer, skills Shadow Dragon Heart, Judgment of Twilight. Condition level 55. This item is the best weapon for Shen Xian to attack. With both hands, he cannot use a shield. When developing, he wears a full set of defensive equipment to prevent assassination. When fighting, he uses the Sunset Gun, which allows him to fight. The attack power has been increased to 2000, and one attack can cause 4-digit damage. If you encounter a large demon, it will be at least 2000, which is not inferior even to Miss Xiao. I have to say that the equipment can improve the character's strength. The biggest. After the appraisal, Shen Xian felt happy and prepared to take Wu Sulan's manuscript back to his territory. But first he had to discuss tomorrow's chess game with Yan Yao and prepare to do his best in tomorrow's chess game. Today, because they were inexplicably involved in the mission, there were many crises throughout the process, and the dangers were only averted in the end. But tomorrow will be different, they have sufficient preparation time. Since Stronghold 4 requires the destruction of buildings, there are several attributes that need to be strengthened, such as the enhancement of building attack and movement speed. However, Shen Xian came up with a new idea, which surprised the experienced Yan Yao. You said we don't want to restore the fallen state? What's the purpose of this? She thought hard. I read from the forum that first of all, the fallen state will recover slowly in the underground world. In the hell world, it will cost hundreds of thousands of experience to only remove 5% of the progress. I think it is not worth it for the time being. I read from the forum after checking, some players try to increase the progress to 40%. At that time, the body will show mild symptoms of demonization, including the evil spirit all over the body becoming thicker, growing magic wings, and the skin becomes horny, but they can gain faster movement speed and jump height, short distance gliding and a series of benefits, but this player is unlucky and encounters the negative state of arrogance. Arrogance will cause the NPC's favorability towards you to drop by up to 30. As a result, he will be killed by the NPC and the corrupted state will be automatically released. Yan Yao's eyes flashed, is this true? What if this is really a good idea? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 193. On the surface, Shen Xian's level is 10 levels lower than Tu Jukan's, and his WTP ranking is more than 800 places lower. In addition, due to the Dark Crusader's restraint on the Shield Knight, he has no reason to win. But now he is full of confidence. The reason that is, he is no longer the Shield Knight he was originally, but has been promoted to the second-level professional Scarlet Lord. Promotion has very low requirements for the Lord, because the Lord is busy everywhere and has no time to complete the tedious job transfer tasks. Therefore, when Shen Xian returned from Hell, he went to Calicos to complete the advancement. There are two types of advancements for the Shield Knight, the Apostle of Order and the Scarlet Lord. The former continues to implement the idea of supreme defense and health, giving the Shield Knight a qualitative leap in its resistance to physical damage. The Law of Order transforms these two talents to reduce physical damage by 10% and increase the upper limit of health by 8% respectively. There are also a variety of special effects, which I will not repeat here. The Scarlet Lord has magical resistance and several auxiliary blessings, which can be transferred from the Shield Knight and the Fallen Priest. The difference between the two is that the safety of the former can be better guaranteed, while the latter has therapeutic advantages. Scarlet Lord, technology, allows shield knights and fallen priests to accept the infiltration of dark power, condition level 60, Hell Faith, Evil Aura level 3, destroy more than 1000 units alone, understand the horror of the Hell world, obtain sharing contract, Crimson Field talent. Share the contract, transfer 20% of the magic or divine damage through the contract with the devil, and increase the physical damage by 5%. Crimson Realm, corrupts all souls during the attack, gains 1% of the power of the soul for healing, 11% of the power corrupts the devil, and the remaining 88% is contributed to the loyal lord to show loyalty. Skills also include Pollution Aura, level 1, causes changes in the battlefield environment, becoming conducive to dungeon force fighting, range 10 meters. Blood Symbol, level 1, absorbs 10 points of life during attack, needs to cause more than 150 points of damage, duration 300 seconds. Shadow Symbol, level 1, with 28 points of magic damage, duration 120 seconds. Fanatical Symbol, level 1, increases attack speed by 20%, movement speed by 30%, causes 15 points/second of damage to self, duration is 60 seconds. Crying, inducing disarm lasting 3 seconds, immobilizing, muting negative status, range 20 meters. Swinging, level 1, requires large weapons, causes 190% plus 110 physical damage, and repels negative status. Terrorist Place, increase taxes by 10%, reduce the probability of residents fleeing by 2%, and the probability of refugees settling by 8%. Bloody Oppression, increases the loyalty of units except elites in the territory by 10, reduces satisfaction by 3, favorability by 3. The higher the level of the player, the more they can experience the horror of magic and divine arts. The damage figure of a level 9 single magic spell hovers around 20,000. Adding equipment, talents, and status bonuses, it will be at least 30,000. Players wear standard when the equipment reaches level 80, the level of being able to learn level 9 magic is about 100,000 lives. You can imagine how terrifying the deterrent of magic is. The attacks in the later stage are diversified. The player's normal attacks will be accompanied by various magic and divine damage. Only by being careful in this regard will you not suffer a disadvantage. Although the absolute physical defense is effective, even level 60 elites can easily defeat level 90 elites. However, with the main idea of preserving life, this profession is quite fragile when encountering mages. Shen Xian has experienced many assassinations and crises. So far, he has not died once. This is because he focuses on defense. That's why he chose the Scarlet Lord. Outside town. Lord, as long as you can defeat me, then I will obey your command. Tu Jukan was full of confidence in him. It seems that he has no losses, Shen Xian thought to himself. Even if he failed, he would not obey his command, so the battle between the two began. In the friendship mode, killing the opponent is still the key to determining victory. Potions and scrolls are not allowed in this mode. The system will deduct 1 point from the upper limit of life and return it after the end, so there will be no death penalty. Tu Jukan, who is slightly taller, uses the barbarian race. The two long swords are brought by the Dark Crusader's unique talent of dual-wielding weapons. The attack power is powerful, but it is not only that, there are also negative attacks and flexibility. This is the Dark Crusaders have the trump card to defeat their enemies. Although the knight profession can fight on horseback, it will be at the expense of reduced flexibility. During group battles, the shock brought by a giant dragon is absolutely irreplaceable, and at this time, there is no reason to fight on horseback. Tu Jukan's movement speed is indeed astonishingly fast. You can't see it at ordinary times, but it can reach a terrifying number in an instant, and this is not at the expense of reduced flexibility. Otherwise, it is like an arcane guard, who only needs to move to dodge. From a long distance away, 3 streams of black energy shot into Shen Xian's body. Slow down. Slow. Poisoned. The negative status is applied very regularly, first slowing down and then slowing down. This order reflects the importance of these negative status in combat. However, Shen Xian, whose health value exceeded 30,000, slowly turned on the halo and blessing. When friendship mode starts, the player's buff status is all eliminated and needs to be applied manually. Painful slowness prevents him from suffering the effects of negative status for a few seconds, first the barrier aura, the perseverance aura, the evil aura, the pollution aura, and then the blood symbol, shadow symbol, and fanaticism symbol. While moving, his steps didn't pause at all. Dual line command. Just like the story about 2 knights and a divine eagle 100 years ago, learning this kind of dual line command requires talent, and requires the brain to be able to think simultaneously in multi-threaded mode like a computer. Smart people may not be able to learn it. Tujukan approached, dancing with 2 swords. Dodge, hit, dodge, hit. 0,900, 0,800. Tujukan was surprised to find that in the series of attacks, the Lord was just passively defending, and it took only 2.3 seconds to complete the release of the halo and blessing, which proved that his APM was not low. But he still did not put away his contempt, and slashed through the air, drawing a gushing black breath. 700,700,700. He approached again, as fast as lightning, and the attack of the Dark Crusaders was fast and powerful, like a tsunami that never stopped. Attacking with both hands at the same time, the burst of fighting spirit shook the earth and rocks and splashed them. He quickly slashed the Lord twice, kicked back, retreated, took out a crossbow from his back, shot, changed arrows, and kept moving his feet, also using double-line commands. Tujukan was still unharmed, and Shen Xian was still calm. The two returned to their original positions, dozens of meters apart. Whoosh! The cross arrow pierced Shen Xian's neck, where the defense was the weakest, and exploded 2,100 damage. Shen Xian, who was dressed like a devil, finally raised the dusk spear and walked towards Tujukan step by step. Tujukan moved, always keeping a distance of dozens of meters. He was not a long-range profession, but distance was the life of the Dark Crusaders. This step was too weird. He stared at it and remembered that this was a famous random number step in the online game industry. There was no rule at all. It was much more abnormal than the S, Z, or even Tianzi steps. As long as the speed difference was not too large, he would dodge the attack inexplicably. There are only 10 people in the world who have mastered this method of movement. Each of them is a master of mental arithmetic and an expert in memory. They are either esports legends or legends in the army. There are very few who play online games because they have reached the point where they don't need money. He sweated, and his reaction stagnated for a few tenths of a second. The Lord did not attack, holding the sunset gun that flashed with terrifying light and exuded death energy, and chanted something in his mouth. The majesty of each word was like the oracle of the gods, and each wave of power could cause miracles. The body was completely protected and invincible. A black shadow in the body twisted and wanted to come out, and the long black wings were about to come out. It struggled to climb up, getting bigger and bigger. Online game DungeonMaster. Author, Buledin Lao Buledin Si Buledin Me. Chapter 194. What is this? Tujukan pondered. He knew nothing about the Lord and could only guess with his auxiliary skills. Was it a summon or a transformation? He didn't know, so he slowly moved back, just in case. The black shadow was fierce when it appeared, but it looked so small when it really ran out. A penguin-sized shadow dragon appeared in front of everyone. It was level 31 and was called a dragon. But would it really be effective with just such a shadow dragon? A young shadow dragon could not be ridden and had no dragon power. It was even more difficult to release dragon language magic and swallow dragon breath. At this time, the dragon was no different from an ordinary unit, and its impact on the battle situation was too small. The shadow dragon flew up, straight up dozens of meters in the air, and it was difficult to see its existence. This was Shen Xian's first active attack skill, the spell attached to the Sunset Spear, but it had no meaning in Tu Jukan's eyes. However, he couldn't attack the shadow dragon either. Although he could jump up with the power of fighting spirit, he couldn't turn in the air. Tu Jukan launched a second round of attack. He had knocked off 1/6 of the Lord's life the last time, and now he needed to do it again. He rushed out, and two long swords stabbed at Shen Xian fiercely. Cross Judgment. Dark Assault. Two skills were released at the same time, and the previous negative state had not disappeared, so these two times were pure physical damage, a full 5,000, and could deduct 1/6 of the life, but the information suddenly changed. He dodged and found that the cross judgment with a very high hit rate had made a mistake. A thick evil aura entangled his body, and the ground under his feet was burning fiercely. The dead grass turned into wasteland, and the wasteland turned into a magic swamp. His hit rate was reduced to an unbearable level under the suppression of several negative effects. At this time, the Lord swept by with a gun. In the face of such a large-scale attack, he hurriedly dodged and blocked with two swords, but his body was beaten back by this force. Successfully blocked, but unexpectedly, the shadow dragon above his head began to cast a curse. Slow curse. Mistake. Slow curse. Mistake. Relying on the super thick magic stripes of the dragon race, Shadow Dragon continued to apply it, again and again, unyieldingly, but the level difference between the two was too big, the hit rate was less than 5%, and the duration would also be reduced. He didn't understand what the Lord was doing. The Sunset Spear was a threat to Tu Jukan. The wide attack range of the lance made it difficult for him to dodge the Lord's attack. He withdrew again, but this time he didn't cause much damage to Shen Xian. But Tu Jukan didn't look panicked, and his eyes with a horned helmet were scary red. He counted the skills of the Scarlet Lord in his mind, and soon he sorted out the general method, took out a red thornflower ring, wiped it, and released the stored spells. Activate. Stop counting all negative states on his body. During this period of time, he was in a stage where he was not affected by negative states. He rushed up again, and a series of dazzling skills were applied according to the established rules, combining a set of terrifying killing moves. 3 normal attacks, 700, 800 damage, 3 skill attacks, 1000, 1200 damage, much weaker than before, but the chance of dodging is still so high. What's going on? He was puzzled. How could the Lord still be so durable after activation? Even pure defense and life-stacking professions should not have such strength, and the equipment of the two was similar. He hesitated, and the attack was completed. The effect of activation disappeared instantly, and his body stiffened again, and the negative status continued to count. Slow curse. Hit. Shadow Dragon consumed half of his magic and released more than 20 times before finally succeeding. His movement speed immediately dropped to the same level as the Lord. Shen Xian was waiting for this moment. He immediately received a fanatic symbol, and the movement speeds of the two quickly narrowed, caught up, and stabbed over. Heroic strike. 1300. Swing. 1700. So that's it? Tu Jukan woke up and realized that the reason why the Lord let Shadow Dragon continue to curse was to slow down so that he could attack him. As if he knew where he would run, Tu Jukan would not use a strange running method like random steps. In addition, he was repelled and could not control his body, so he bombarded Shen Xian twice in a row. But Tu Jukan reacted quickly. Most people would hesitate for a while after being repelled like this, but he was still thinking for a few seconds after being repelled. At the moment when the state disappeared, he counterattacked. He was very close to the Lord, and he immediately used the skill of Dark Tide as the first attack. Then he chased after him, but Shen Xian moved horizontally and leaned behind a rock pillar. This long-range attack missed and hit the rock pillar, and countless oil and rocks fell on his head. How could he know? Tu Jukan felt incredible. Was it an instinctive reaction? If it was not the perception of the coming crisis, then it was a full use of the terrain trained in the game. Is it useful to escape? The battlefield is limited. Tu Jukan snorted and continued to chase, but his body was pulled suddenly. A confused demon climbed up from the ground and grabbed his feet, making him move a step slower. Disappeared, the Lord disappeared into the darkness. He killed the confused demon with one sword, stuck to the wall, and carefully scouted around. A gun shot out from the rock wall behind him. He moved his body sideways to dodge half of it, and hurriedly swung his sword and slashed it, blasting the stone wall with an amazing fighting spirit, trying to give the Lord behind the wall a fatal blow. However, what greeted him was not the sunset gun, but a shield. After causing 400 damage, the Azure Sky Defender counterattacked with a suppression skill, and the two sides were still evenly matched. From a distance, the players watching only saw the two people attacking alternately, and it was hard to tell who was the winner. However, these players were confident that Tu Jukan would never lose, because if the boss lost, they would obey the orders of the Lord. But is this really possible? You have to know that the WTP ranking has always been a world where the strong are respected. Which of the masters standing at the top of the world is not abnormal to the extreme? How big is the difference between 100th and 900th? It's like a tank and an aircraft carrier are not at the same level. However, the situation at hand seems that the Lord can still withstand it, but his defense is like a turtle. The boss didn't even use his legendary items, so how could he lose? No, the Lord's reaction is too fast. The reaction to the skills is like he doesn't need to think. Does he already have that kind of stress response? After listening to this player's statement, several players observed carefully and couldn't help but take a breath of cold air in their hearts. They clearly saw that the Lord was at ease. He could dodge a fatal blow and would not be killed instantly when facing a fatal blow. What's going on? Most skills will not reach this rule instantly. All skills give players space to dodge. You don't have to dodge completely, but you can dodge partially. As long as you don't hit all of them, then it's not full damage. How difficult is it to find a pattern from the ever-changing skills? How many people can do this? No way, the boss's APM is over 500 now, and the coordination of the whole body has reached the extreme. How can this happen? Tu Jukan panted. It was a surprise that the winner had not been decided for such a long time, but the opponent did not react slowly because of such a long high APM, which shocked him. It is recognized that a person cannot maintain a high state of mental concentration for a long time. Only those who have been specially trained can extend this period of time. Even he is a little tired. Is this person a pervert? But how can the 997th player in WTP have such a single player level? This is too abnormal. Even the woman called Lonely Young Woman may not be able to hold on for such a long time. It's really weird. Is there someone who hides his strength? But WTP was arranged by the strongest online game organization in the world, so how could there be any problems? The organization has always regarded itself as the most powerful and authoritative. It is said that the computers used in the organization are 50 years ahead of the world, and the managers inside are all supermen with IQs over 400. How could there be any fish that slip through the net? However, if this continues, who knows what unpredictable results will appear. He had to move with the Lord to achieve the best attack effect, and the random number steps consumed a lot of his physical strength. He had to repeatedly use activation to control the movement speed of him and the Lord, which was a great test for APM. The situation was not as clear as imagined. Although the Lord's chances of turning defeat into victory were not great, he would never win so miserably. Facing the demons summoned by the crimson field around him, Tujukin smiled, and a white skull appeared in his hand. A huge starlight stone was inlaid on the forehead of the skull. He began to absorb the energy from it. The energy was input into his body, and his body slowly became nothingness, and 4 phantom arms grew from his back. The rock pillars at the edge of the battlefield fell down one by one, and countless demons summoned by the Crimson Domain crawled down. The empty images stood there, vaguely resembling the Judgment Demon of Hell. Online game DungeonMaster. Author, Bulletin Lau Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 195. Double-sided emblem, the war totem of Ciridion. Miss Yao's knowledge system memorizes this legendary item, which is made of half of the skull of a demon lord and half of the skull of a devil lord. Although it cannot bring direct power to the user, it gives the user the ability to freely transform into 2 forms. What should he do now? When the form of the Judgment Demon passes, the winner of both sides will be decided, Miss Yao muttered secretly, but she hoped that Shen Xian would win quickly to avoid any trouble in the future. Health value is enhanced by 200%, fighting spirit value is enhanced by 150%, attack power is enhanced by 100%, and defense power is enhanced by 100%. It can be said that the Judgment Demon in front of him has become a terrifying opponent who can easily ravage Shen Xian without any operation, except that the current health value has not changed. Moreover, Tujukin did not lose consciousness at all. 2 fascinating eyes swept around, and the dominant evil aura drove these demons to rebel and attack Shen Xian. Shen Xian had nowhere to hide. Under the gaze, all the shields were useless. His perception was everywhere. As he moved, he had to kill the demons summoned by the Crimson Domain with his own hands to prevent them from hindering his movement. With the help of the props, the level 5 lightning chain cleared the entire battlefield. At this time, the Judgment Demon incarnated by Tujukin attacked, with 6 attacks, 2 physical and 4 magic, causing a total of 4,700 damage. Just when the player thought that the battle was about to end, a shadow dragon swooped down from the sky. A level 35 shadow dragon, it only took a short while for the shadow dragon to level up by 4. This was something the player could not imagine, but thinking of killing so many demons with a lightning chain just now, the shadow dragon as a summoned creature would also get a lot of experience. What does the Lord want to do? Send the shadow dragon to die? A level 35 shadow dragon, even if it is an elite, can only withstand 1 attack at most. What effect can it have? Does the shadow dragon have any special skills? But most of the players guessed wrong. The shadow dragon is not elite, but heroic. How could the sunset spear forged by Count Cherok, the Lord of Shadow Dragon, be so weak? A level 35 heroic shadow dragon, with 13,000 HP, can withstand 4 damages. Except for being in the empty magic state, it is definitely a perfect target. Unlike ordinary summons, this shadow dragon is hosted in the sunset spear and will slowly upgrade. At first, players thought that the shadow dragon was vulnerable. In fact, no one knows how strong this shadow dragon is without personal testing. Level 31 can withstand 3 damages, but level 35 can withstand 4 damages. Because it is immune to physical damage and general magic damage, Tujukin's attack is very weak. The shadow dragon began to raid, and the attack disrupted Tujukin's attack, causing 200 damage at a time. The shadow dragon was black and looked even more low-key than the black dragon. It was almost completely integrated into the darkness. Nothing could be seen except perception. Tujukin only had 9,000 HP now, and he was attacked several times by Shen Xian, which reduced his HP of 25,000 to only 40%. He only wanted to chase Shen Xian, ignoring Shadow Dragon's attack and chasing him step by step. He still had a lot of dochi left. Undercurrent surged. A black shockwave attacked Shen Xian's back. At this moment, Shen Xian turned around, raised his shield, and blocked. The damage of 1400 was reduced to 600. Then, Tujukan got close and hit Shen Xian with 6 attacks. 700, 800, 500, 400, 600, 500. Under the shield's reduction, the damage that should have caused 6,600 was reduced to 3,700, but because of the attack speed, no one dodged. During this period, Shadow Dragon attacked 5 times in succession, causing 1,000 damage to Tujukan. Shen Xian's HP was less than 4,000, and he completely gave up the Sunset Spear and used the shield to defend. The two were so close that it was difficult to escape from Tujukan's pursuit by any skill. However, when he stabbed with the second round of 6 attacks, the Shadow Dragon dived, twisted its body, and strangely took all 6 attacks, which made him frown. How could the AI of this Shadow Dragon be so high? Could it be a boss? While chasing Shen Xian, he used a small skill that was irrelevant to the overall situation to test the blood volume of the Shadow Dragon. 10,000 to 20,000, this number is not large, but it is not easy to kill instantly. As long as the Lord is killed, he can win, but if the Shadow Dragon wants to kill him, it needs 45 hits, and the Shadow Dragon has no skills, so he gave up attacking the Shadow Dragon and chased Shen Xian with all his strength. 6 more hits, but the Shadow Dragon blocked 5, which made Shen Xian run to a place several meters away from Tujukan. After transforming into a Judgment Demon, the movement speed of the two was almost the same, and fast movement required physical strength and fighting spirit as consumption, because at this time his pursuit ability was greatly weakened. Flesh and blood torture. A black, sinister hand grabbed Shen Xian, trying to slow him down, but Shen Xian continued to move without any hurry, and Tujukan cried out in shock. What happened? Why was his movement speed not affected? Shen Xian's body slowed down after a few seconds, and when the hand disappeared, he retreated inexplicably. Flesh and blood torture can pull the unit back and cause a short deceleration, but why does the Lord's skill take several seconds to show the effect? It's caused by talent, but why didn't it appear before? Could it be intentional? No player would notice an inconspicuous little place. There are too many such little places. So when someone deliberately covered up this place, Tujukan was completely unaware before the problem was exposed. So, the 6 attacks he predicted were all dodged because Shen Xian was not pulled back. When he was pulled back, he could not attack immediately because of the attack interval, and dodged another attack. It was not until then that Tujukan completely understood the Lord's talent. Damn, he actually kept hiding his strength. Is this showing weakness to the enemy or what? Who can guarantee that he has no other tricks? Tujukan was in a mess, and he stared at the Lord. Where is he going? Shen Xian ran to the edge of the battlefield with rock pillars. Tujukan stabbed out with a sword, and a powerful air blade shot towards the rock pillar in front of Shen Xian. The rock pillar had a health value of less than 1,000, and it immediately fell sideways after being attacked, blocking him. But Shen Xian was not hurt. He jumped over the rock pillars. More than a dozen rock pillars tens of meters high fell down one after another, and the surrounding terrain became extremely complicated. Shen Xian suddenly turned back, and a suppression caused 400 damage to Tujukan. Another cry made him freeze and disarm, and he ran back to the place just now. The two pulled away, and the Shadow Dragon continued to attack. Tujukan's health was less than 2,000, and Shen Xian's was only 1,000. The Shadow Dragon suddenly stopped attacking. Tujukan didn't know why, and hurriedly swept away the rock pillars around Shen Xian, using the rock pillars to block his movement, and approached again in 1 second. This time Shen Xian didn't run away. He swung a sword at the rock pillar, and a 600 damage floated out. Tujukan subconsciously thought that he was going to use the rock pillar to attack him, so he took a few steps back, while launching skills, preparing to make the final blow. Cross Judgment. Dark Raid. Including ordinary attacks, it was 8. He had activated the activation before, which was not subject to any restrictions. For a lord with less than 1000 health points, only 2 hits were needed to kill him. At this time, the rock pillar had fallen down and blocked the 2 of them. A ray of light flashed from the lord. He retreated in the direction of the rock pillar. With the broken rock pillar, Shen Xian was buried in it. Suicide. Tu Jukan didn't believe it. How could the lord commit suicide? How much health points less than 1000 could be left after being completely suppressed by the rock pillar? He noticed the special light at the moment when the earth and rocks were buried. Could it be possible to save him? The damage that would eventually be transmitted to the lord by attacking the earth and rocks with ordinary attacks would not be very high. Seeing the shadow dragon falling from the sky, he decided to destroy this troublesome summon first. He only needed 3 rounds of attacks to destroy the shadow dragon's 9000 health points, which only cost 1000 health points, but in fact he attacked 4 rounds because he found that the shadow dragon had 1000 more health points. He didn't know how to recover, which cost him 200 more health points. However, the shadow dragon eventually turned into a ball of ink and dissipated until it was summoned again by its master. At least this time, there was no possibility of a contest. The one who recovered faster between the 2 was definitely Shen Xian, so he would not give the lord any chance to recover. In fact, this saved Shen Xian and allowed him to win the final victory. Shen Xian, who was buried in the soil and rocks, still had 1000 lives. With Spencer's lifesaver, he recovered 2000, but he would die in 20 seconds. Even at this time, Shen Xian's thoughts were still clear. Through the message sent by the shadow dragon before hanging, Tu Jukan still had 800 lives. It took 2 attacks to use the Azure Sky Defender, and only 1 attack was needed for the Sunset Spear. Waiting for the opportunity, Tu Jukan took action and easily destroyed the soil and rocks pressing on the surface. He knew that the lord would attack first, so he almost attacked at the same time as Shen Xian. All 6 attacks were slowed down, but Shen Xian didn't die. The Sunset Spear stabbed into Tu Jukan's body accurately, and the number 900 was released. As long as Tu Jukan could hold on for a few more seconds, Shen Xian would die under the double blow of rapid recovery and slow pain. But he couldn't hold on. Finally Miss Xiao's clenched fist loosened and she breathed a sigh of relief. Now the forces of the Desert Border Alliance can all be incorporated into Dusktown. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Buletin Lao Buletin Si Buletin Me. Chapter 196. Defeating Tu Jukan is equivalent to recognizing Shen Xian's leadership in Dusktown. Regardless of whether this method is reasonable or not, for the players of the Desert Border Alliance, fighting is everything to them. They only believe in the strong, so everything can only be solved by force. As for how the Desert Border Alliance and Miss Xiao got in touch, Shen Xian didn't want to ask more, nor was he willing to ask more. So, the 3rd elite army of the territory, the Bloody Cross, was established. With the job transfer book of the Cross Swordsman brought by Tu Jukan, the Cross Swordsman will be able to transfer to the Dark Crusaders and Blood Soul Warriors. However, establishing an elite army has always been a troublesome thing, requiring huge yellow investment and a long time. Less than 1/10 of the first turn profession can complete the second transfer, that is to say, it will take at least a month until the establishment of the Hand of Wuzelan and the Bloody Cross is complete. This was a peaceful period. Apart from the war in the south, there were no major twists and turns on the continent. They had plenty of time to slowly develop the strength of each part. Nezel and Councilman did not hit the strength of Dusktown, so they had to leave it alone and plot secretly. There were many things that needed to be solved, and they could do it step by step. In any case, the territory had so many high-end players, which was a meaningful thing for the entire fiefdom. In addition, there were several powerful allies in the surrounding areas, so Shen Xian did not need to worry about the emergence of irresistible forces around him. The next day, Hell. Shen Xian's body returned to the hotel in the Dark Dragon City. He summoned the Shadow Dragon, but found that the Shadow Dragon was not very friendly to him. Among all races, the loyalty of the devil is the most difficult to improve. The best way is not to influence them, but to restrain them. Shen Xian remembered the sentence in the official information. The Shadow Dragon has 0 loyalty and 0 favorability. In other places, this situation is a state of feud, but for the Shadow Dragon living in the Sunset Sphere, it has to obey Shen Xian's orders. He ordered Shadow Dragon to start practicing skills, including 7 curses, 3 dark faction magics and 1 dragon language magic. Starting from level 0, it takes a long time, which is why Shadow Dragon was so weak when he fought Tujukan yesterday. However, the inability to use potions and scrolls in friendly mode made many tactics impossible to implement, which also led to Tujukan's failure. As long as he used all his strength at the beginning and transformed into a judgment demon, his chances of winning would be small. However, for a skill that lasts for 300 seconds and can only be used once in 24 hours, it is not worth using it in such a useless contest. At 8 o'clock in the morning, Shadow Dragon's skills reached level 2. At this time, Odin, Yan Yao, Victor, and Frank were all in place. I checked his degeneration progress, 14%, and gained a 10% bonus to movement speed, a 25% bonus to jump height and distance, and a 95% reduction in gravity acceleration. He moved more lightly and would not die if he fell from a height of more than 10 meters. These are very helpful for the goal of surviving in the chess game. Yan Yao's was 27%, and she was only 3% away from the negative state of lust. However, based on his understanding of the senior sister, she would not let herself change to that extent. She would definitely suppress it at 30% to obtain the best combat state without being affected by the negative state. Compared with the ignorant participation in the battle yesterday, today they can be said to be armed to the teeth. They brought all the potions and scrolls, and infused their weapons with energy that has a destructive effect on buildings. They spent money to hire an army. These are the rules allowed by adventurers in the war of chess. Then, they exchanged the power they had, and after a while, they entered the battlefield. Above the elephant, there were undulating terrain like meteorite craters everywhere, and jumping had a great impact on the movement speed. With a push of Sherlock's mental power, countless fortresses collided with the fortresses on the opposite side. Not only did all the spires collapse, but even small pieces of rock were turned into powder and dissipated in the sky at the same time during the collision. This is the power of the great lords in hell. They can create like gods, but they prefer destruction and turn beautiful things into chaos. After landing at the fortress in the rear, a large number of big devils flew out of the fortress and attacked from the top of the spire. Arcs of light shot out from the top of the tower, dissipating pure change in the direction of the arcs of light and channeling them into the body, absorbing them, with joy on their faces. An army, under the command of Shen Xian, killed to the bottom of the bloody spire. 50 damage popped out from the claws of those hired little devils, with an attack output of 2000 points/second, and it would take 75 seconds to demolish the bloody spire. They used the method of finding support points to destroy the most important support pillars of the bloody spire, so it only took 30 seconds to complete the destruction of a spire. When the first ring was destroyed, they immediately divided their troops. There were only 2 kinds of devils around this elephant, the seducer and the judge. The former would never appear, they were only responsible for the operation of the bloody spire and provided assistance. The latter was the main force of the attack and the biggest enemy they had to face. They used a level 7 scroll to summon 40 level 15 demons, and prepared 10 in total. Whenever a patrol of judgment demons appeared, they would use 40 demons to contain them. As long as they could contain them for more than 10 seconds, they could get rid of them. What they needed was time. There was no benefit in destroying the judgment demons. In this way, they kept moving and destroying. Within 10 minutes, they successfully destroyed 3 spires and snatched 1.2 million experience. However, the efficiency of gaining experience is lower as time goes by, because the battles on the battlefield are carried out simultaneously. Maybe when they reach the next bloody spire, the spire has already turned into ruins. They need a scout, that is Shadow Dragon. However, Shadow Dragon is not like the Overlord Sherlock who can see through everything. Its ability is limited and it can only transmit a small amount of information. They skipped the 4th spire and went to the 5th spire. Then the 8th and 10th spire. At this time, the situation of the battle changed again. The judgment demons in the wild were destroyed by the big devil. There were few left. The wild was much safer. So they split into 2 groups and headed for the 12th and 13th spire at the same time. In 24 minutes, 8 spire were grabbed, with a total of 3.2 million experience points. They walked around the elephant and completed the task. Shen Xian was promoted to level star. In front of him was a central spire standing in the volcano, supported by cast iron chains several meters thick, about 100 meters high, with a total of 5 floors. Thinking that this was the territory of several bosses, including Sin Lord Syndra, Torturer Saito, and Desperate Tyrant Moisen, Shen Xian saw that there was still a lot of time left, so he couldn't help but smile and said, "Let's go in and take a look." Online game DungeonMaster. Author, Buletin Lao Buletin Si Buletin Me. Chapter 197. When the team led by Shen Xian entered, all the dozen game masters in the ogre house were depressed, because they never expected that the Lord would complete the task so quickly, so that they could still get a share of the progress. The central spire is divided into 5 floors. The first 4 floors are stationed with 100 seducers, the Sin Lord Syndra, the Torturer Saito, and the Lust Tyrant Moisen, which are the 3 bosses that need to be eliminated in the task. The 5th floor is the final boss of the elephant, the Mistress Fimi, a 120 level seducer. The 3 bosses are not difficult, and it is inevitable to push them, but how to push them is always a headache. The core idea of the battle cannot be affected by too much loss in the next round. But with Shen Xian joining, the tactics can be changed. Several players gathered together to discuss and finally decided to hire Shen Xian's team. Through the ogre's detection, it can be detected that the 3 bosses drop 1 each of the 3 levels of excellent, rare, and epic, and the general attributes of the items can also be known. It is not suitable for them, but it is very important to the members of the ogre's house, so they decided to pay a total of 50,000 RMB to let them assist in this operation. Since the boss's drop can be detected and it has little to do with him, Shen Xian does not mind doing such a business. Because it is just a small team, the reward for this mission is quite good. In addition, although the Sin Lord Syndra was missed, the next 2 bosses will still give 66.6% of the mission reward of the Stronghold 4. This time Shen Xian can be said to have made a lot of money. The main force to kill the Torturer Saito is still the Big Devil. The big devils that draw a lot of energy from the Bloody Spire have all been upgraded. It is easy to deal with a small boss like Saito with only 600,000 lives. However, the abnormal terrain of the central spire made them suffer. The battlefield is very small and they are all fighting on chains. As long as they fall into the magma sea below, it will be interesting. The big devil can fly, and they realize the importance of air combat. If the dwarves can ride the shadow vulture, what should the ogres ride? They are all confused and decide to look through the history of the ogres to see if there is any record of the ogres having an air force. After Tui Deo Si2, it is the Desire Tyrant Moisen, a boss with no technical content. It took 3 minutes and 11 seconds to kill him. The ogres who were excited about killing finally rushed to the top of the central spire. As the final boss of the elephant, everyone knows that he must have treasures, not artifacts, but at least epic equipment, so even if he dies once, it is worth it for this epic item. In a solemn ivory white hall, there is no horrible atmosphere of hell, but a sacred feeling of being in a temple. In front of you, the seducing demon, Mistress Fimi, is wearing a milky white gauze dress, with her skin looming and her surging plumpness, which can make people's blood boil. Even if you are a eunuch in reality, you are not in the game. It is assumed that any normal person will have a burning throat when being stimulated by such eroticism. It must be said that Mistress Fimi is a devil that can arouse men's desire. Whether in terms of figure, appearance, manners, or temperament, everything is perfect. The most proud skill of the seducing demon is to control the creatures around, and Mistress Fimi is the best among them. A group seduction is released, and the big devil in front attacks the back in a blink of an eye. Several players who rushed to the front also attack themselves involuntarily. Shen Xian was slightly less affected and hurriedly retreated. Yan Yao, who was completely immune, was busy removing the seduction state of these players. But most demons are not afraid of the skill of Mistress Femme. They just throw dozens of fireballs at their kind from a distance. After destroying the lured kind, they start to attack Mistress Femme. Mistress Femme has a HP of 950,000, but her skills are absolutely abnormal. Fool's Aura, range of 100 meters, reduces the AI of units within the range by 1 level, and reduces the player's reaction and flexibility by 20%. Mental Blast, range of 500 meters, randomly selects targets within the range to cause 11,000 to 29,000 damage, and absorbs 1,000 to 15,000 magic power. Hell Song, range of 2 kilometers, creates an illusory world that makes people indulge in it and unable to break free. From these detected skills, it can be seen that Mistress Femme is a ranged damage type, and this kind of boss must not be easily approached. In addition, there are several players behind Mistress Femme, the main players of the Tai Shemale Guild. After discussion, these players decided not to attack immediately. Doing so will not change the outcome, because the Shemale Guild cannot destroy all the big demons. All the players who came to Hell are independent players, and their strength is definitely not enough to reverse the situation. Shen Xian thought that these players might be waiting for Fimi to fall down to pick up the bargain. At this time, anyone can pick up the dropped items. If they are restricted by these players with control skills, the loss to them will be relatively large. Because there is no task, the purpose of destroying Mistress Fimi is to get her items, and there is no need to consider other things. Several players stared inside. Under the siege of so many big demons, Mistress Fimi did not get a better ending than the fallen Lord Ansiodar. Her health value was decreasing, and the players of the Shemale Guild were also uneasy. They stood less than 10 meters away from Mistress Fimi, ready to wait for her to die and pick up the dropped items by all means. After 5 minutes, there were dozens of big devil corpses on the ground. When the time was right, the players and the players of the Shemale Guild inside had a battle. However, the Ogre House was intact and Shen Xian's team was invincible. Shemale could not fight no matter how hard he tried. Seeing the players with full health and full magic, the Shemale commander hesitated and said, "Forget it, let's retreat. We can't grab them. Don't let them die. This way, we will lose equipment." In the end, all the equipment dropped by the Fimi mistress went to Shen Xian. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 198. The crimson sky gradually turned into a dark blue color, marking the arrival of a new season in Hell. The most gorgeous fire rain spread from the depths of the sky, turning into countless magnificent and dazzling meteors that fell to the ground, passing over the broken continents and towering fortresses, and finally heading towards the bottom of the endless hell, never stopping. This is the 6th day in the Hell world. Shock Rift. Everything seemed to have stopped in an instant. The patrol team in the wild disappeared without a trace. All that could be seen was ice and snow, the roads covered with ice and snow, the mountains and fortresses, and nothing else. Shen Xian stood on the top of the central spire, looking into the distance, the blue dead world, and the chess pieces were still fighting. When it came to the end, the battle was also particularly fierce. Beside him was the first 49th level Shadow Dragon, but at this time it was already the size of a horse. Now he is level 69, maintaining a speed of 1 level per day. Now the experience of upgrading has reached 5 million, but the experience of the task has not increased, so the speed of upgrading has become extremely slow. There are not many chess pieces left, and this gambling between the lords will eventually come to an end. After completing this mission, there is still 1 week left to stay in Hell. This time is enough to adapt to the environment of Hell and make him stronger. As for the territory, with Miss Xiao carrying it, it won't be a big deal. Most players have focused on the founding mission of the Honghuang Guild in recent days, which has a revelation effect on whether other guilds can defeat NPC forces and establish their own countries. Because the South Sea Alliance does not belong to the parish of the two bright gods, the Eye of Judgment and the Throne of Light, most of its territory is adjacent to the Phoenix Council, the most noble and mysterious elven kingdom on the Night Star continent, so it only needs to destroy the Principality of Apro. From the perspective of the world's situation, Honghuang has countless forces all over the world, from small adventure groups to medium-sized mercenary groups and chambers of commerce. There are as many as 10,000 organizations under the name of Honghuang. The strength of these organizations may be mediocre, but after superposition, it is immeasurable and extremely helpful for the establishment of the country. The population of the Principality of Apro is 2 million, and the army is 150,000. This ratio is not unusual in a country surrounded by the ocean and ravaged by 4 seasons of storms. Among the 150,000 troops, 5,000 are second-level professionals. This is where the NPC force is stronger than the player. The biggest advantage of the player is unlimited resurrection. 50,000 adventurer players may not be able to resist 50,000 troops, but as long as they are willing to sacrifice, the final outcome is obvious. Honghuang has a large number of villages on hundreds of islands in the southern marginal sea of the Principality, which are under the charge of the Lord of the Mimi Pavilion, Zhan Longxian. Even if the South China Sea Alliance adopts a complete blockade, it cannot block the communication between the two. This is the second biggest advantage of Honghuang. So in the delicate period when most players are paying attention to Honghuang, the development of the entire fiefdom is not so eye-catching. All major events in the territory need to be signed by him personally. He is not in Hell and cannot know what happened in the territory. At present, the total population is 90,000 and the total army is 10,000. Including the 3 elite forces of the Black Blade Knights, the Hand of Ursuline, and the Bloody Cross, totaling 1,000, the regular army of 6,000, and finally 3,000 local troops, distributed in several small fortresses and important towns. Most players do not have private armies. With more than half of the villages controlled by NPCs, half of the original lords were dismissed and assigned special duties. 20 million was exchanged from reality for the development of the territory. It seems to be a meaningless act of burning money, but it is actually crucial to the development of the territory. Through the act of burning money in the virtual world, technology quickly caught up, and the popularization of level 7 technology with a cost of hundreds of thousands brought a dramatic change to the entire territory. The strength caused the surrounding weak forces to be eliminated without resistance, such as Japan's Todai Game Club, the American Entrepreneurs Alliance, and the Moon Explorers Association. These alliances that were once famous in Dusk Hills have now become a thing of the past, or turned into the dust of history, or dying. For Dusk Town, it is the strongest force in Dusk Hills and even the surrounding areas. As the territory becomes larger and larger, many organizations are eager to get involved in the territory. Some are willing to pay 50 million to buy the entire territory, and some want to intervene in the security affairs of the territory. Miss Xiao is responsible for handling it, and Shen Xian will make the final review. Only some small organizations are allowed to participate. Large organizations are likely to affect the development of the territory, which is something no one wants to see. There are such organizations as the world-famous virtual trading platform Nile and the giant retail giant Malvo. If they are allowed to participate in the management of the territory, they may get a lot of benefits and share resource advantages, but for Shen Xian, who is not short of money, this will only divide his rights. On Monday, a business license for virtual transactions with a provincial-level large enterprise in Tibet, China was signed, allowing the Sagar Chamber of Commerce in the country to conduct commercial activities in Dusktown. On Thursday, the reorganization of the territory army was completed, and the selection of the second-level profession began. These selected NPCs will either enter the Mage Tower for 24 hours of study or spend a difficult time in the training ground. Friday signed an alliance agreement with Baron Tomato Park of Taiji Menji Heaven, one of the 33 heavens of the All Heavens Guild, and the territory has one more trade route. However, the fiefdom of Baron Tomato Park is located in the Dark Swamp, where the output of resources is extremely high, and there are not many commodities in demand, so the trade is a deficit type. This is the general development of the territory. According to Shen Xian's estimation, such peaceful days will continue for a while. When we return to the underground, it will be time to solve some problems. Thinking of this, I don't know how long it has passed. Another soldier on the chessboard has completely turned into ashes, and there are less than 5 chess pieces left. The ground under my feet suddenly moved. Tip: Player Lord accepts the task, Stronghold 17, kill the Hellhound King, reward 2 million experience, 300 reputation, and Devil's Contract. The chess piece symbolizing the elephant moves rapidly towards the direction of the king. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 199. As the core of the 16 chess pieces, the king stationed 10,000 level 123-headed hellhounds. Just destroying these 10,000 three-headed hellhounds can gain no less than 3 million experience points. The Ogre House and Shen Xian's team obviously attach great importance to this mission. However, all this was considered under the condition of safety. When everyone left the spire, they found something bad. Did you notice that the king has not been attacked so far? If we rush out like this, we will definitely be ravaged by the level 120 hellhound. When the New York soldier asked the question, a player immediately jumped out to refute, "What should we do? We can't not fight." The New York soldier pondered for a while and replied, "Maybe we can try to persuade those big devils." "What do you think?" Shen Xian said, "I think it's okay. But to persuade the big devils, you need level 9 debate and hell studies. I don't think we can find such talents among us. What should we do? Sit and wait to die? Why don't we let the players with level 6 debate try?" The players chattered, and the ogre's voice was so loud that even the big devils could hear it. Suddenly, there was only a burst of weird laughter in their ears. Several big devils shouted, "Do you still need to remind me of these things?" The implication seemed to be that they had agreed to let the water in the battle and slowly consume the level 120 hellhounds until all the chess pieces surrounded the king, and then make the final attack. All the players were surprised by the cooperation of the big devils. However, hundreds of big devils were nestled in a small place, and even the hellhounds could not attack. The players were very satisfied and stayed behind the big devils at ease, waiting for the hellhounds to attack. Due to the extremely cold weather, the icy wind was howling in the sky. Staying outside would suffer 340 points of magic damage per second. Most of the garrisons needed to march out from the inside of the fortress, and the time of the battle was delayed. After 10 minutes, the first wave of 50 hellhounds rushed over, turning the big devil army upside down. The gap of 30 levels was so obvious that even if 500,000 experience points were gained after the battle, the situation was not optimistic due to the loss of big devils. Through the reconnaissance of the Shadow Dragon, Shen Xian learned that there would be hellhounds coming in 5 minutes. As the last struggle of Count Kapilov, the king could easily destroy the elephant. Only by solving the elephant could the remaining chess pieces of Sherlock be dealt with. So this wave of attack was extremely fierce. But in this case, they would be sacrificed. Shen Xian definitely didn't want this. Facing a group of level 120 boss, their group of adventurers was powerless, and all the players were worried, just like a beast trapped in a cage and could only sit and wait to die. Count Kapilov has 2 chess pieces left, and Count Sherlock has 5 pieces left. It would be meaningless if we surrender to Kapilov. Do we really have to kill as many as we can? The New York soldier asked for everyone's opinions with a wry smile. The players were silent, thinking hard to find a solution. Shen Xian didn't think of a good solution and said nothing. Time passed little by little, and soon the hellhound came. Without many big devils who served as meat shields, they retreated step by step and could only retreat to the inside. A player released a scroll to summon a little devil. As soon as the little devil appeared, the hellhound's fiery breath engulfed them in less than a second. All the players were stunned. This was too abnormal. They frowned and had a personal understanding of the strength of the army stationed in Wang. Kill as many as you can. Shen Xian gave up. Unless a miracle happens, the New York soldier agreed, and said to everyone in the field, everyone prepare for the aftermath. Split up and work in groups later, so that the chances of survival will be greater. Because we can't contact the Hellhound King for the time being, we give up this mission. You might as well focus on collecting equipment, he reminded again. Players enter Hell not as the main body, so they don't drop equipment in Hell, including the collected equipment, so that players will not become weaker and weaker in the frequent deaths in Hell. After hearing these words, the players dispersed and ran out from several doors of the spire, followed by several 3-headed hellhounds. Shen Xian and Yan Yao ran towards the west gate of the spire. After a while, Shadow Dragon, who went to investigate, found Shen Xian and told him new information. You said there are signs of big devils gathering in the fortress in the south. Shen Xian stared at Shadow Dragon's eyes and pondered for a while, still not daring to believe it. Yan Yao said, what if this is our chance to get out of the crisis? We should give it a try. Shen Xian nodded and decided to believe Shadow Dragon's words. A few seconds later, 2 red phantoms passed through the air, moving very fast, with a slow pace, but they could jump dozens of meters. The 3-headed hellhounds chased them relentlessly, but with Shadow Dragon's restraint, they didn't have to worry about being caught up by the hellhounds. After walking in the wild for a minute and a half, they finally came to the place where the big devils gathered. There were more than a dozen big devils in total, and it was not hopeless to deal with 4 3-headed hellhounds. Besides, there were still many players behind the big devils. The conditions for entering the Hell Trial were relaxed in the later stages of the mission, which made the number of players coming to Hell double several times, and there were more than 40 here. The appearance of the 3-headed dog of Hell caused a sensation. For those players who were dragged into the mission as soon as they arrived in Hell, the 3-headed dog of Hell brought a visual impact. The tall body like a hill and the gentle breath brought gorgeous damage. What will such a boss drop? The players who are full of longing for the drops in Hell are full of fighting spirit. More than 30 of the players are from the Warsaw Fraternity Guild in Poland. The Warsaw Fraternity Guild, the largest guild organization of amateur players in Poland, advocates fraternity and mutual assistance and is committed to cultivating the game spirit of players. It is well known in Poland and has hundreds of thousands of members. The players from Poland are well trained. At the command of the commander responsible for the guild's actions, they obeyed orders and had clear division of labor, and were ready to welcome the boss. But they were unlucky. They encountered a level 123-headed dog of hell, and the ending was obvious. Online game DungeonMaster. Author, Buletin Lau Buletin Si Buletin Me. Chapter 200. The Warsaw Brotherhood of Love blocked the pursuit of the three-headed hellhound for Shenxian, which gave him some time to breathe. A few minutes later, another chess piece controlled by Sharlok confronted the king head-on. Half of the three-headed hellhounds were tied up in the other half of the battlefield. The situation on the king suddenly turned around and moved towards victory. Shenxian, who felt that it was impossible to complete the stronghold mission, ignited hope in his heart. He and Yan Yao stood on the spire of a fortress and looked into the distance, looking for the central spire where the Hellhound King was located. The structure of the king is different from that of ordinary chess pieces. The place where the central spire is located is actually a densely populated underground fortress, buried deep in the rock core as big as a mountain. A fortress of this size takes decades to build and operate, but for Sharlok it is just an item that can be sacrificed at any time. The power of the creatures of hell is unimaginable, and a large fortress with hundreds of thousands of garrisons is just a piece of cake. After finding the location of the Hellhound King, Shenxian chose from the army surrounding the king. One was a cavalry army composed of 200 level 60 dark laborers, one was a healing army composed of 75 level 90 dark lords, and the other was a big devil, which was a comprehensive one. For this battle, he did not hope to cause any damage to the Hellhound King. A heroic Hellhound with a defense of up to 10,000, the Sunset Spear could barely cause 500 damage, which was considered good, unless there was a weapon that ignored defense, but this was unrealistic. The main thing was to save life. The Hellhound King would drop a legendary item anyway. As a profession with high health and high defense, the Scarlet Lord had a great advantage in grabbing equipment. Comparing the three armies, the Dark Lord's army was definitely suitable for saving life. In addition, the army around a healing unit would take care of them, and their days would definitely be smooth. Through the Shadow Dragon's reconnaissance, they found the Dark Lord's army nearby, and Yan Yao and they immediately went over and joined them. The Dark Lord directly applied 2 buff states to them. Compared with other demons, this group of Shadow Dragons is much more merciful. Soul Boiling, restore health 26 points/second, lasting 15 minutes. Devil Physique, Aura, increased adaptability to hell, movement speed and reaction increased by 6%, magic resistance 14%. These two are direct beneficiaries. By fighting with the Dark Lord, Shenxian saw the Dark Lord's healing ability, instant 11,000 healing, 6 seconds chanting 32,000 healing, which is of great significance for saving lives. The only doubt is whether these Dark Lords will help him. You know, demons have done a lot of stabbing at critical moments, so he decided to rely on himself and Yan Yao. At least the senior sister is more credible than these dragons. The expedition began. When the third chess piece surrounded the king, the resistance of the Hell three-headed dog was quite weak, because half of the troops of the previous 2 chess pieces were consumed, and less than half of the 10,000 Hell three-headed dogs were left. Therefore, the subsequent army penetrated deep into the king with great momentum. The king is a completely spherical rock, as if it has been carved, like an asteroid. Entering from the gate on the surface, they headed towards the core. The three-headed hellhounds on the way continued. By finishing the knife, they could occasionally grab some experience. Going deep into the ground for several kilometers, the cold turned into hot again. The flowing magma and the rolling molten flow are what most people know about hell. Slowly, exquisite statues of big devils appeared, and rocks were piled up into walls with a thickness of tens of meters. The three-headed hellhounds pulled the heavy gates to close slowly, and hundreds of fireballs were shot from the lookout holes on the walls. The trap under his feet exploded, and the molten flow tens of meters high rose into the sky, causing a full 31,000 damage. The Dark Lord Sira Dragonheart raised the supreme scepter that flashed black brilliance, and a huge defensive barrier enveloped the Dark Lords. The fireballs fell to the ground with a bang, and none of them hit. Then a group of dark laborers in the back began to attack the city, dealing about 1,000 damage each time. Not long after, the fortress with a total health value of 8 million was razed to the ground. There were hellhound nests and devil temples around, which showed that the underground fortress was fully functional. In the distance, the underground palace submerged in the depths of the magma could be seen. Through a conversation with the Dark Lord, it was learned that it was the residence of the Hellhound King. The underwater battle, or more precisely, the battle in the magma, had a huge impact on movement and vision. Ordinary and excellent items would be damaged by the temperature of the magma. This was a tough battle. The reward for the stronghold mission was very poor, and Shen Xian had the idea of giving up and just wanted to enter at the last minute. But he felt that the last step of the stronghold mission would not be so simple, so he decided to try to participate in the skill. The position of the skill was the key. The palace was completely submerged in the magma, and he had to find a safe place. The damage caused by lava is 184 points/second. After deducting life recovery and buff status, he can last about 250 seconds. He is good at finding places. Since he started playing games, he has enjoyed finding bugs or loopholes in the game. His sensitivity to terrain is far beyond that of ordinary people. He found that the top of the palace was a few red runes that alternated between light and dark. There was no magma around the runes, but the space was relatively small and could only accommodate creatures as tall as a person. Swam here and waited for the battle to begin. For them, this was a shelter. It was 300 meters away from the Hellhound King. Because of their fallen state, their vision was far away. It would be troublesome to approach the battlefield from here, but it was quite safe. After a while, the battle began. The Hellhound King slowly woke up from the chains that bound him and made a violent sound. The nearly 100-meter-long behemoth, even the demigod dragon might not have such a large body. As one of the 72 descendants of the demigod Cerberia, the Hellhound King had terrifying power since birth. The dark laborers were like food in front of him. 12,000 lives were gone in an instant. After a while, hundreds of dark laborers disappeared into his 3 huge mouths.